All right, hi guys. Hopefully you can see us all right. Thanks for joining today. What we've got is we've got a new webinar. Maybe some of you guys have joined before. Maybe it's all new for you. But theme of today is new tax year, new you. So we've just come into the new 18-19 tax year. So hopefully we can give you guys some tips if you've just started out as a sole trader. Maybe you're looking to be a little bit more efficient, or just get some ideas about how you can make your life a bit easier, I suppose. So let's jump into it. First of all, let me go here. Today you've got myself. So my name's Ben. I'm the sales team manager here. So I'm responsible for bringing on all of our new clients. So be those sole traders, limited companies, umbrella clients. But also with me, I've got Luke Young. So Luke's one of the client managers. He supports all of our clients once they're actually on board, and he's the one that's able to give you some tips and tricks about how to manage your account and just make your life a bit easier. So thanks for coming along.
No problem.
So when we're going through the webinar, we want you guys to ask some questions. So it's really good to get some engagement with you guys, and we can answer your questions hopefully live at the end. So on the GoToWebinar little widget thing, there is a questions drop down. If you open that drop down, you'll be able to type your questions in there, and we'll try and get to them at the end. If it's really bespoke, or if we can't answer it, or if we need to come back to you on it, we'll make sure that we follow up with everyone to get their question answered, whatever that may be. So first of all, a little bit about Crunch. For those of you who might not be clients yet or might be thinking about joining us, Crunch started back in 2009. So originally what we wanted to do was change what it meant to be an accounting firm. I think a lot of people still to this day think that you need to go and see someone, you need to visit an accountant in order to get your accounts done. But you know, like everything, it's moved into a digital sphere now, and that's where we sit. So primarily we do accounting, but alongside that core accounting product, we also do things like mortgages for people that are self-employed, business insurance for people that need some cover there, and also things like advice on investments and pensions. So first of all, when you're going through and you're going to be setting up as a sole trader, you need to register with HMRC. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
It is, yeah, absolutely. First thing you need to do, importantly, is declare yourself as a sole trader through HMRC online. It's very different to being a director, so just make sure that you do complete the correct form. You don't want to show yourself as a director, because that's not right. So sole trader, and it has to be done by the 31st of October the following year. Mm-hmm. So what I mean by that is if you've been sole trading between April 6th and April 5th, you then have to register by the 31st of October.
Okay, so 31st of October is a good one to be remembering,
yeah.
Right? So, but that can all be done online?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything, okay. HMRC online. Understandably, HMRC is quite tricky to navigate, yeah. So if you do need a hand, it's probably best to speak with one of their advisors, and they can walk you through it.
Perfect. Right, so what's next? We've got what taxes do you pay? So when I speak to a lot of clients on the phone, and they're just going into this journey, I suppose, of being a sole trader, working for themselves, being self-employed, a lot of people are asking what taxes they need to pay. Mm-hmm. So at a pretty high level, what do people need to think about?
You've got to consider national insurance and income tax on your profits. Okay. What that actually means in basic terms is it's the money that you're left with after your expenses. Okay. So you take the total income that you've made as a sole trade, you less your expenses, that leaves you with your profit remaining in that case. So that's what you will be charged NI and income tax on. Okay. So it's not everything that you've earned, it's just the profit itself.
Okay. Okay, cool. And what we'll do after this webinar is we're going to link you guys to some recommended reading. So some articles that you can take away, some things that will be helpful, whether you're a client or not of ours, just some things that we think might be of use. So one of the things that we'll link you to is an article on what rates of the national insurance and income tax you'll be paying on your profit. Like any of this stuff, if you feel like you need a hand, speak to an accountant. That's what we're here for. We're here to take that burden off you should you need it. So if you want to have a chat with any of the advisors on the phone after this call, just get in touch. So Contracts. When you're thinking about contracts, it's always best practice to ensure that you have some kind of clear terms of business. Now, as an accountancy firm, we can't really advise what should be in your contract. It's a legal matter, really. But hopefully, we can potentially get you thinking about, what you might want to have included in there, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I suppose the first thing people need to think about is payment terms. So when you want to be paid by your client. With Crunch, you can set up payment reminders. Obviously, you don't have to be with Crunch to do that. It's just a general good practice to get into is to just set automatic triggers to remind your client, this is the payment term, this must be paid by X and X date. If you're having trouble getting paid, first thing I would advise doing is liaising with your client directly. Try and get some sort of understanding of when you're going to be paid, when you can expect to receive that money. And again, even saying that, you can have payment reminders leading up to the payment date, but also if that payment date is missed, you can send late payment reminders as well. So once that sort of pay date is hit, it's not the end of the world. There is still follow-ups you should be doing.
We've got some really good late payment reminder templates on our website as well.
We do.
So yeah, check them out on the website. You can download them, adjust them as needed, and then go from there. So separate bank account. It's best practice to have this, right?
Without shadow of a doubt. You don't want to mix business and personal money, as it says on the slide. You want to keep them as far apart as physically possible, in all honesty. You should really see them as separate entities entirely if you can. So what I mean by that is a good rule of thumb is try to put aside 30% of whatever it is that you've earned. So say you've worked for a client for £1,000, put 30% of that away into a savings account, for example. And that's just to account for your income tax and the national insurance contributions. So then at least right, this is my money, this is HMRC's money. Okay,
perfect. And I suppose if you do have a student loan, then that's also something that would need to be paid come self-assessment time.
It does.
So that's another thing to just to consider, I suppose. It's just something that you want to be remembering, so you're not getting any surprises.
Absolutely,
come the end of the year, right? So raising invoices and recording expenses. So this is really how we're getting our money. So this is what we want to be doing. We want to be making sure that we're on top of it. So what do we need to be doing or thinking about when it comes to expenses and invoices?
I suppose first thing to do is to get yourself some either free tools or templates that you can use to issue to your clients. I've personally found some of the hardest stuff for people when they start is just knowing how to invoice a client. What is it that's included on the invoice? With everything actually going digital quite soon anyway, Crunch does have very good cloud-based software to send invoices directly from the account to your client. But in the same token, online, we do have free templates that you can download. So I'm not saying you have to be with Crunch to use these. They're available to everybody. But you do need to have something in writing. And what's more as well is if you keep on top of things like this using a cloud-based software, it gives you clear visibility over your business. So you know where you're at all times, you know what you've sent to your client, when it's been sent, you have issue dates on the invoices. It will make your life easier. Recording expenses as well as a doddle. If you do it online, it's much better than keeping Excel spreadsheets or receipts in shoe boxes and then having to trawl through them all in a month or 6 months time. So make your life easier. Just get yourself an online cloud-based software and just manage your business and your own personal circumstances.
I guess it's about keeping things up to date as and when they happen too, isn't it? That kind of little and often mantra that's always toted around the office.
I mean, the admin side of things, admittedly, is daunting, and it's something that not a lot of people do want to do. In fact, not anybody really wants to do it. But when you've got a cloud-based software, it just makes everything a breeze. You don't have to think too much about calculating formulas, anything. Softwares do all that for you. It deducts the taxes, it takes away, it will not let you eat into your tax liability. So let's put it that way.
Ideal. Right, so tips on expenses. Again, this is something that comes up really, really regularly. People know that when they are self-employed, there's obviously some claimable expenses they've got, but I mean, not everything's a claimable expense, right? There's some rules that go with that.
No, well, sole trader, you cannot claim travel or food if you're working at the same location. What I mean by that is if you are a regular sole trader for a specific client and you're going back and forth from the same location over and over again, you can't unfortunately claim for that travel or food. If you work for multiple clients and you are changing where you're working, not a problem.
Okay.
Not a problem. It's just that if you're going back and forth to the same location, HMRC could potentially stipulate that you should maybe be an employee rather than a sole trader. So that's just something to consider. You don't want to raise the flag with HMRC.
Okay. Now, when it comes to expenses, is there's a certain period of time that people have to keep all of this stuff, right?
Yes, there is. 6 to 7 years.
Okay.
You have to keep your receipts. Obviously, the only way that I know a lot of people keep this is either slinging it in a shoebox, filing cabinet, whatever it is that you want, however you want to store it. And actually the storing doesn't matter. It's just as long as you've got them, and should HMRC question anything, you can literally send them the shoebox and say, okay, there it is. There's all my receipts. Work your way through it.
So it doesn't need to be, if we're talking about receipts and keeping them, it doesn't need to be any more complex than just having something, some place where they are all located. It doesn't need to be filed, doesn't need to be organized. You just need to physically have them.
Exactly, yeah. And the other thing as well with expenses to consider as well is HMRC stipulate that it has to be wholly and solely for the work that you're doing. So I suppose if there's any shadow of doubt in your mind, whether it is or isn't, obviously give us a call to double check first. But if there's any element of pleasure, so for example, you go on a trip, on a business trip, you work overseas or whatever, if there's any element of pleasure to that, you cannot claim for it at all, unfortunately.
Okay. So yeah, I suppose the tip is to just get in touch with us, really, isn't it? If if you're a client and you're unsure, if you think about a client, get in touch. We can give you some upfront advice and then we can go from there. So online software. So at Crunch, we have all sorts of different online software tools that we use. Like you alluded to earlier, it's going to save you loads of time. It's going to be way more efficient, and it's going to move you away from that traditional kind of Excel spreadsheet that you might be using. It's just a more modern way of doing things. So, like I said up front, there is still this thought that you need to go and see an accountant. You need to run off an Excel spreadsheet, which is not the case. It's going to save you a load of time if you're just able to file everything via your phone. Give us a call if you need any advice. It's gonna save you a load of hassle. Also, when you use Crunch as a sole trader, it makes doing a self-assessment really easy too. So long as you have that software up to date, when it comes to doing your end of your account, your self-assessment, it's just simply pushing a button, and then it's all filed completely with HMRC, and you're on to the next year. So again, that's going to save you a load of time as well. Obviously, everyone's not created equal when it comes to being a sole trader. So if you've got more complicated accounts, you'd have access to an accountant here that would be able to help you too. Now, when you're switching to limited, this is something that, again, we handle a lot on the sales team, and Luke would handle as well. There's a load of different moving parts when it comes to switching to limited. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to how you should be trading or the structure you should give your business. But when you start kind of earning that 35, 40, 45,000 pounds, that's where you can start getting some greater tax efficiencies and being limited. There are other benefits that you can get there too. So, you distance yourself from your work a little bit. It's called a limited liability company for a reason. You can be a little bit more savvy with the way that you take and pay your tax, take money out of the businesses and pay your tax. So that can be a benefit as well. And if you are thinking of becoming a limited company, now can be a really, really good time to switch, right? So it can cut down on the admin that you've got. We've got the start of a new financial year. You can line up your company to almost start that financial as well. So it's
always difficult, I suppose, when you move midway in a year between sole trader and limited, because then you have to consider that actually some of your income during that year you have to declare a sole trade, but yet the remainder you're now operating as a limited. So the advice, you're absolutely right. The best thing, if you are going to consider it, start fresh, start in the new tax year, and you can carry on as you began. It just makes life easier. You cut down the admin work, you cut down the stress. Okay, cool. So like I say, if you've got any questions, fire them in, or if you want to have a chat with us on the phone, we can run through that with you. So here's the list of recommended reading that we're going to send out to you guys, so you can see exactly what
expenses you can claim. You can get a link to the late payments, etc., etc. So that'll all come out to you guys via email after this webinar. But now, actually, one thing I should mention is when you at Crunch, we have an online community. It's called Crunch Chorus. It gives you access to all sorts of different things. It's completely free, and it's really somewhere where self-employed people can get loads of different articles. So we've got business guides on there, white papers, things like expenses, social media, writing a business plan. You got discounts for Crunch services, so things like business insurance, you'd get a discount on. The software that we mentioned, the templates that we mentioned, we do meetups to get people socializing. It can be quite isolating being self-employed, so we want to try and bring that in as well. So if you jump online, crunch.co.uk/chorus and sign up, it's free. It's definitely worth doing. So we got the Q&A. So hopefully we got some questions in, and what I'm going to do is give us 2 ticks. We'll pull up some of these questions and see what we've got. So, right, first of all, when do I have to do my tax return?
So, tax return is always going to be, for sole traders and limited, to be honest, between the 6th of April and the 5th of April. That never changes. It's always going to be the same. So that means you have to declare all income between that period. Now, the due date for filing that self-assessment is going to be the 31st of January. Again, that doesn't change. That's always the same. So just to give you an example, let's take the year upcoming now. So we've got the 5th of April 2018 to the 6th of April 2018 to the 5th of April 2019. Now, the tax return for that year isn't actually going to be due until the 31st of January 2020.
Okay, right.
All right. So admittedly, yes, it's quite confusing dates to remember, but as long as you remember self-assessment by the 31st of January every year, can't go wrong. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, look, what we'll do now is we're going to summarize all these answers, going to get them out to everyone, share the slides with everyone, share the recommended reading. So, yeah, look, thanks very much for joining us today. We've got another webinar coming up in about half an hour or so for limited companies. So if you want to register for that, please do. But again, yeah, thanks very much for joining. Thanks, Luke.
Thank you. Cheers.